Now, you also do webinars, you do workshops, and you have something called the 99-Day Leadership Journey. That sounds really exciting. What is that about?
So that is a series of books, a series of 3 different books. They started out to be one, but nobody wants to pick up a book this thick, right?
Right, we have them here, yeah.
And so they're a series of 3 different books that we really wrote specifically for our coaching clients to help them as they're growing and developing in their leadership. So the first one is Stand Out.
Stand Out, yeah.
And it focuses on self-leadership and developing your own personal leadership skills. The second one is Dare to Make a Difference, and it focuses on team leadership. How do you grow and develop your team and you leading them as a team? So you're not focusing as much on you, but them.
And the books themselves, they're sort of broken down in order with this being first, this being second, this being third, so they're in some sort of an order. But each of them is a collection of 33 daily reflections to build positive habits for personal leadership development, right? So tell us a little about how that works. You're actually reading and then participating in the book?
Yes,
it's a cool way to design that.
Yeah, it is. So, and the reason that we designed it that way is because I think all of us have experienced going to a conference or reading a book that changed our life, or that speaking engagement that we went to that changed our life. But then, 6 months, 6 years later, when we're cleaning out the closet or the trunk of the car, it's like, oh my gosh, that's the book that changed my life.
Yeah.
And so instead, we wrote it where we hope people do each entry at minimum 1 day at a time. And so some of the entries you may find, oh, I've already mastered this, and you can move through it quickly. Some you may spend 3 or 4 days on one entry. And so you read the entry, and then it has activities for you to do. Some of those activities you do by yourself, and some of those activities you engage others around you.
List 5 things that make you proud. Who do you need to thank for pouring into your life? Celebrate all the accomplishments with those that helped make it possible. It doesn't have to cost anything. Bring them all together and brag on them. How will you do this? And you actually have the area right there on the right where you can fill that in as you're going along. So you also feel like with these books, Stand Out, Dare to Make a Difference, and then the last book is Bottom Line. Tell us about that one.
Sure. So that, because like you had said at the beginning, they do build one precept upon the other. So self-leadership, team leadership, and then bottom line is organizational leadership. So when we think about moving up in the ranks of leaders, before we can lead anybody else, we've got to lead ourselves. So that's the first part of self-leadership. And part of that, like the entry you were reading, it's about knowing where we came from, valuing and appreciating those origins and who has poured into us so that we can then pour into others. And then that takes us to the team leadership. And then once I'm leading teams, how do I go from leading teams, from leading individual contributors, to how do I now lead leaders, which is the bottom line.
Cool stuff, really is. I like the way it's laid out. So this is part of the 99-day leadership journey, because you actually are on a continual journey. Now, when you've done that, when you've reached that 99-day, what happens? Do you pop open champagne, or what happens from there?
You're perfect from then on.
That's it.
That's it. You've reached it.
Stand back. I've arrived.
Well, since we haven't written a book for yet.
For day 100?
That's right. Exactly. So now moving into the next phase. But it's just about that growth for those 99 days. And someone may just choose to read one because they may just be focusing on one aspect. They don't have to go through all 3.
Tell us also about those webinars, about the blog, about the workshops, these other resources you have available.
Yeah, so as we talked about a little bit earlier, we have what's called the leadership maturity model that focuses on different competencies of development at different levels. And so our webinars focus on different competencies, and so we choose those according to which ones we haven't covered at different times, or which ones we're hearing more about that people are hungry for that information. So each year we do 4 webinars a year, once a quarter, that focus on different competencies that are in the now in leadership. But they also fall under that leadership maturity model. And then the blogs and the newsletters, those come out every single month, and those also focus on different competencies, but they all complement each other. So each month has a theme of competencies that we're focusing on in the white papers, in the blogs, and then the month of webinars. The webinars then complement that as well. And we have a huge archive of probably 30 to 40 recorded webinars that people can comb through.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
So a lot of resource available for clients.